So what I was saying is that Orbit remains and continues to be a key product for us, really at the heart of what we do. And we've invested a lot of money, efforts, and resources into developing it over the last few months. We've added over 40 new features, a lot of AI, which yeah, no, I'm not spoiling it. And we will continue to do so and improve. And your feedback will be super important as well over the next few months. And I hope that you find all of this very useful. So I will give you the floor. And yeah, I think the workshop is going to go through the roadmap. You're going to present the agenda?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, super. So thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the workshop.
Good. Today I have three speakers, which I'm one of them. Then I brought my colleague, Jean-Michel, which is one of the leading minds behind Orbit. We also have maybe some colleagues online which are talking. And therefore, the idea of this session today is that you can ask questions. Also, the online participants, there's a Q&A function. Therefore, could you try it out and just tell perhaps where you're from and what you're interested in, that we can see that it's working? Is the audio now better? So there's a chat, there's a Q&A function. Therefore, it would be nice if you can give us some sign that you're still here with us, because we have around now 40 people. Yeah, thank you very much. Good. What we have planned for you today is that we, on one hand, do the roadmap presentation, where it will about that we present a bit about more of the strategic level, what we planned with Orbit, which I consider as important to import Orbit into your strategy, to how to use the system. And then we go on the next session. This session is ridiculed with technical issues. I don't know why. So now it works. Thank you very much. Good. Where it's really in detail a bit more about the upcoming features. This is about where we really speak on what was the former success factors of Orbit and how we want to keep it that way, to reinvent some and just improve others a little bit. And most importantly, that things that make Orbit really great, to keep that. And then there will be a very deep dive into smart lists with Jean-Michel, where he is then speaking about what this means. And we have one smart list is in particular one of the most, for me, anticipated and necessary features that will come, because this will solve a lot of the current challenges that Orbit users are facing and will lift a big part of Orbit to nowadays standards. And that's need to be done. And the last session will be conducted by a good friend of mine and an expert in the field, which is Joni Sayerler, which is a dear Orbit customer for years, and they deliver outstanding searches and services to their clients with our product. And therefore, if someone is capable of giving some best tips, some reflect what has changed, what is required, and how to use the AI properly, it's Joni as a practical thing. Good. Let's talk about the roadmap. Usually in Questel, it's a bit like this. We try not to share too much about our roadmap, because what makes Orbit in particular so interesting is it's not a tool which was recently developed. It really, the origins of it goes back to the 80s even. Therefore, and constantly the product was reinvented. The current form, Jean-Michel, correct me, was 2009, the first Orbit Intelligence. And the technology behind is very complicated, which means it's not only a software you could install or so, which is quite simple. It's a system of systems which have to work together. In total, we have roughly 1.5 million lines of code, which means when we do our updates, when we integrate new features, there's a likelihood that there are consequences in the systems of systems we may not anticipate. And therefore, this was a this is a challenge that we face when we do features. Now, what you have to have in mind is that when we started, when Orbit got this major overhaul, there was a lot of what is called technical debt. I don't know if you ever heard this term. It just means when you come up with a solution, and this even translate to your IP work. Sometimes you start processes and you build something and it says, okay, it's good enough, it does the job. But later on, when you need to improve that process, you have to solve the issues that you skipped in the first time. That's called technical debt. And also like documentation is one of the things which usually first come up when there's an audit of the IP department. That's usually also one form of technical debt. And that's when you have a long software, and this happens with every software, they have technical debt to cover. That was one reason why we had in 2024, as there was the launch of Elasticsearch. And here I'm very direct. It was not a fun. It was a lot of, we changed a big part of the system. There were a lot of consequences influenced, and then it took time and effort to make Orbit great again in that regard, that it was performance and working. And as we were solving this, we had now the time that we now have the opportunity to build the products that we are doing now. Now, one secret behind this, what Vivian already said about the feature release, was that Orbit received a more strategic importance from Questel. It is still our core product. We noticed that the transition from the search engine was taking too long, and we have to catch up with the market. There was a decision made. We quadrupled our developers. Now we have 3 teams every day working on Orbit Intelligence, where it's about improving it, bringing it to the latest standards, adopting best practice, and still keep the DNA of Orbit, which made Orbit great. Because we have our loyal customer base, and we are very happy to have them, and we take them serious. And this, therefore, a lot of my job, and therefore, thanks to you, I have this new job, which is called Customer Success Manager, who is all about keeping the customer base engaged and using Orbit. And that's what I want to do. Good. The IPBI Boost program. Now, this is a kind of a new investment circle, which is different from the years before. And when we look at the years before, we had an average about 10 to 12 features a year. Now, and then 2024, we stepped up the game because there was Elasticsearch. It was already 20 features. And now the first time ever, we have this 40 plus features. Why I say plus? 2025 is not over. There will be releases to Orbit in December. There will be minor ones, therefore to improve little things, but still they count as features and they should delight you. Yeah, there's no question in the chat so far, so let's continue. The 40 features, when we look at them, we had significant ones like the AI releases, and that would be very interesting to know for me. Do you use the AI features in Orbit? Could you just type in the chat yes or thumbs up, thumbs down? It takes some time. Now, what we can see with these 40 features, as I mentioned, the major ones, they were about AI to one aspect, but also things like that we solved the usability, that we improved the user interface, that it looks fine, and we have in mind three specific personas I will present later that to satisfy their needs. Orbit, and this was also one of the feedback that we received from clients where they said, hey, we love your software. It's the most trusted one, but it looks a bit outdated. That was one part of the release. It says we did a global UI refresh. We hired an expert in that field, a leading expert, which with his team, which is one of the three teams, does nothing else than user interface improvements. There will also be, to give a little bit of spoiler for 2026, there's also major improvements planned for the user interface. So therefore, for the ways of working. Thank you very much for the thumbs up in the chat. Good. Let me think. Yeah, one big part which has nothing to do with AI is the measurement search, for example, as a big feature release. Orbit has, the first time ever, the chance that you can very conveniently search any kind of metric that you need or parameter, like temperature, and it will be even converted in all different forms of temperature as they're disclosed. Therefore, I can type in Celsius. It will be translated to Fahrenheit and to Kelvin without that I have to think anything about. The same goes with imperial system, like inches and yards, and with the metric system with millimeters, microns, and nanometers. So even if I put, for example, a range of 0.5 millimeters, I also get results for microns and even nanometers if the people use that wide range, for sure. Therefore, we have in mind to not only now come with AI features, but also over the year we showed there is improvements in UI, there's new ways to sleep, which is important, and that we save time and reduce the friction. Now, one big part, and let's talk about this a brief moment. When I was on the IP Service World, I did a talk about a tool check, and I came up with 3 key requirements you should be aware when you're picking a pattern information tool. One is support, which I believe our help desk is, I really appreciate them, and I consider them as one of the best, because one part is they speak 7 languages. The other part is they are free of charge. There's not like there's a ticket limit or there's this. They really do a lot of effort in with that team to solve that. The second point was search features, and I just showed we did 40 plus features, and Orbit has a lot of features which enable that you can ask very complex questions and queries into Orbit, which helps to come up with answers you couldn't without. And the third pillar is data. And you have to know that Questel is one of the big 4 data providers, which means we have our own data set. And this is also something we build over 40 years, which means it's not that easy for others to compete as data providers. That's the reason why there are these major data providers, and a lot of the tools work with license their data instead of building their own database. It's very complicated. We receive from the patent authorities the data per week. It will be cleaned, it will be enriched, it will be integrated in the data set and delivered every week. That's the way how alerts work. Alerts, for example, in Orbit doesn't work on the whole data set. They work always on the data change. That's the reason why it's called alerts, because we're like, oh, something has changed, and only the change will be checked. Now, we have this very complex thing, and for today, it was a bit funny. I saw from a competitor, he made hey, who are the best tools? And he also mentioned us. I was like, oh, very nice, thank you. And he came like, yeah, they have 130 million documents. And I was like, okay, that's not really up to this, because they stated that Espasnet had 140 million documents, and DPO is a very good partner of us. So we have actually close to 170 million documents. And what we did this year was a lot of Asian documents, what you can see with Hong Kong, that we did Brazil, which is Brazil for this year was for me a nightmare. There were a lot of questions, and I got challenged where people says like, oh, but Google Patents has it. And then I checked the numbers, and Google Patents, you can check it. It's like 8,630 patents from Brazil. And when you check in Orbit, when you choose full part and you go for Brazil, it's 1,067,000, something like that. We don't have for every record information, it's because of the office, but we're working on that. And also we increased this year 30,000 more documents in full text with PDF. There's still some bugs with the PDF delivery, which we will also solve end of the year, hopefully. And therefore, this is good. We added a new patent authority, and that will come soon. Therefore, this patent data coverage ensures just that Orbit is a very fine solution if you need prior art search. Now, therefore, because it's one of the major capabilities. I'm so amazing in time. Therefore, I have to like. What was also a big part, what changed was the SAP data integration. And yeah, now he says like, hey, yeah, Ricardo, I can search it in other tools as well. Sure, the declaration. And there's a big part and problem with declaration, for example, in terms of Wi-Fi technologies. Because Wi-Fi technologies is not necessarily declared as it is for example, other telecommunication standards like 5G or 4G or 6G when it comes. And we have, thanks to one of our daughter companies, an expert pool of SAP analysts. And we built a database where we have a manually curated essentialism check for the SAP data. No matter if it's Wi-Fi, if it's 4G or 5G, we can pin down and with that data that if it's standard relevant or not. Before we had it in Orbit, we actually sold this, for example, to a lot of OEM from the automotive sector, where they're like, okay, that database is so good, even in this raw form, they used it. And now we have the first time to have it as an add-on in Orbit. It costs some extra, but it's compared to the competition, it's even very affordable. This data is court approved. So therefore it was challenged quite often enough. And to improve licensing deals and get better rates, that could be worth to look at. Now let's talk finally about why you're here, 2026. I think one common theme in 2026 was that we saw that on the IP service world, there were a lot speaking about AI. And for us, with Orbit now, we integrated AI functions, so we also evolve. But one of the product owner, what you can see here, that's Matisse. He's not live, there's not a video, so don't worry. But I asked him, okay, what will be the key point of 2026? And he said, like, first and foremost, it needs to be about, we need to adapt to the market. We have to have this in mind, that the collaboration between our users have to be improved, that we make the tool much more intuitive to enlarge the user base, that on one hand, you still have the professional users who can directly interface with the command line, and still also have like the occasional users who get not lost in the process, and that they can work together. That's what Matisse have in mind, and it will be all 2026 about. He says, in my opinion, if we look now at Orbit, one, it has a lot of strengths, and I'm a company representative. I should have to say it has a lot of strength. But one big part we want to update, because it's required, is collaboration. Therefore, automating much more information as it could be, as it should be. Now, I spoke beforehand about personas, and therefore one is to have this vision, on the other hand is to understand a bit your customer base. And our key audience is still the patent professional, which means patent searchers, patent counsels, who really understand patent information into detail and also start asking very detailed question. Second persona that we have in mind is the so-called strategist, which means that are people which are not too much into prior art reference searches. They're more into it, okay, I want to understand the competition. I want to understand how the technology is evolving and how it is helping, and therefore. And what we also noticed over the years, more and more important it became, that we have the what we call the light users or R&D engineers, who says, okay, they are often used to either do like a relevance check or to sort information or need to be informed about the latest trends of technology. And those need to work together with the other two groups. They need to change this to the one with the PDF. Okay? Or presentation, I think. Ah, I understand. Some people have selected the camera, other people. Therefore, there's like the screen share. There you have the best information. I would recommend that to switch. So, good. Oh, thank you very much for your patience so far. Today was far from ideal, but I have to be positive. That just means there will be upside potential. Now, about the key initiatives that we plan is, as I mentioned before, the collaboration and monitoring. We have in Orbit, with the current alert system, a very precise way to monitor changes, 100%. We have different technologies that we can use to share information. Therefore, this works as well. And part of my work is that I do this kind of consulting for the clients that says, okay, how to do this, how to automate, how to make it okay. Now, what you can see, it's far from modern standards. And that's the thing where it says, with the key initiative collaboration and monitoring, that we on one hand want to ensure that it's easier than ever to find the right things and to get notified in a convenient way. And on the other side, when you need to exchange with your colleagues, that this is possible and this is convenient. Later on, Jean-Michel will also talk a bit about the AI, which comes alongside the collaboration. So actually you have like another colleague, which is in this case called Sophia. Sophia is our brand name for AI. And if you ever wonder why it's called Sophia, our main Orbit headquarters is based in Sophia Antipolis, which is not Bulgaria, it's in France. Therefore, it's with a PH, not with an F. Good. I spoke about the AI-enabled evolution and features. Now, here we have to be a bit more precise. We have already AI functions in Orbit. Those get improved. We got the first feedback. Oh, what about patent professionals that do freedom to operate searches? You mean about, I saw this question too late. Patent professionals include patent searchers who do freedom to operate searches, and also for collaboration, also in mind to have it. We launched a server, we'll show later, this Smart List Insider program, where we were getting key requirements for this collaboration and also for this sharing. Therefore, to have this. Is your question answered with this? Good. Now we can continue. AI-enabled evolution and features. The third part is a bit like with collaboration and monitoring in mind, which we call workflow. But this is more like when you look at Orbit as it is now, it's a transactional software, which means you do. Hello. Hello. Feel free to take a seat. We are already started a bit. Where is it? Hello. Good. Yeah, the workflow, which means the way how processes are done in Orbit, how you run a search. And therefore, a lot of these revamp UI features, which will change, will be in that regard that we can say, okay, it supports a kind of workflow. It's not too much anymore like you have to think in this transactional way and you have to process too much in your mind. The first time we had this was with the guided activities you can see in the analysis if you have a premium subscription. Therefore, such kind of like user guidance, we plan to improve. That will be, this is what we call workflow. And the last big part is data enhancement. So here it's about, we plan for next year to add 10 new countries to make the data even more accessible. Later we'll talk a bit more in detail about this. To speak about what we do with the search fields, what we do with because one part is adding just new patent documents, the other way is improving the way how the search can work, and therefore there will be some information. Therefore, I'm brilliantly in time. So here we have the official like roadmap slide. You will see this slide more often than when you have update trainings. Where it says 2024, there was like above the general summary of the features that we improved, and below you see AI has their own track. It's not anymore our specific feature names. It's more like general terms where we said, here we have an AI query builder. You know this as Sophia Query. You have the AI search. You know this as Sophia Search. If you haven't tried it out, I strongly recommend you to try Sophia Search, because it is a very good addition to any prior art reference search, and it helps very much. Then we have the feature extractor, which is part of this AI search, where it says we can also define search features with this. This is therefore is quite helpful, and the AI do a full review for us. Then we have a patent comparator. This was a minor upgrade. It's not in the AI field that you would think. It's in the hit list, but it can very conveniently compare either family members to each other with a summary or from different families. The most of our user base are essential users. They don't have the fun of having Sophia, what we call Sophia document, where you have a document chat with your thing. For them, they have it also available. So they can ask questions, but at least they can have a summary. If you haven't checked it out, it's a great way. And the patent chatbot with library, this is what we call Sophia document, where we have this ask your document, you can ask questions. And what I noticed here, and this is very interesting, I have the feeling it's depending a lot of what is the reality of the user and how strongly they are using AI before. Because it works with prompting, so you have to ask questions and you have to tell what the system shall do. We have a nice library for this, but I see clients who come like, I ask very basic thing, is there like feature A present, something like this. Then we have other clients, they come like, oh, I actually use this for patent circumvention, where they really go into detailed question and thinking of circumventing and in a litigation. So where I think like, wow, that's now we usually try to avoid any legal advice topics, but it's interesting to see how people use. Therefore, I would love to ask in the audience here and also in the chat, did you use this Sophia document chat before, and what and for what? That would be good. I don't know. Do you want someone to share it in the room already? Okay, we can do later, Dima. In the chat, is there someone who wants to speak up? People are typing. It takes some time. There's also a Q&A. Okay. Then we continue. Because if I don't see now popping something popping up, voice to text. We have to maybe also speak about a bit AI policy, because think of it, when you turn on a microphone and process audio data, this is quite confidential, I would say. And therefore, how we do it, for example, is that we have a server for that on our premises. It's not leaving our premises, because this is really, yeah, sensitive information. And the idea is also to have more voice-to-text functions in other AI solutions. We don't want to have it for the command line, for example, because you would need to dictate very precise, and it's with voice to text not that easy. Now, voice to text, if you haven't tried it out, is currently in Sophia Query, and we noticed from our other tool, Cofina, that people really enjoy very fast just talking about their thoughts. Therefore, you don't receive an audio feedback from Query at the moment, but just to formulate. And what I like you to try to do, what most people are not aware of, it's actually still a language model, which means what you can do, and this is what I do in my presentations with users, where it says, ask questions. It's not based on the pattern data, but for example, a good question is always like, what I show them is, I want to search for, let's speak about, let's take, for example, quantum computing. And that's a very large field, and you get a lot of things. It's nice, okay, you could maybe run some competitive statistics, but for prior art search, it's not precise enough. And if I don't understand the field too good, what I can ask is, what are typical problems of this field? And if to the online audience, if you're directly on your PC and you want to try it out, it delivers very good results when you come up with these questions like, what are the typical problems in this field? What are the major components, or what are the major processes? And it's not based on the pattern data, the answer. It's based on language model for sure. But then in the final step, I say, okay, I want to search for quantum computing, but precisely for the processes and precisely with the problem that solves the problem energy intake. And then you go down from a couple of thousands patterns to 300, 400, which is very precise. Query, this I will spoil right now, will be improved next year. So it will also have the chance to deliver a better query even. This is what we call, we do versioning of the functions, and in the version, we have the chance. Currently, in my opinion, it's a bit underutilized, because the most professional, more seasoned users, that's like, oh, that's for the beginners. You know, we do our stuff ourselves. But I strongly recommend also for professionals to use it, because I use it as an entry aid. For example, also for classification codes. Currently, the lookup of classification codes is not good in Sophia Query. But what is good for, you can copy from the whiteboard page the classification codes and says, make me a query with this. And then it comes with the perfect codes. Therefore, that's the help. So now we are in the question was with 2026. I already voiced it over with collaboration, light users, the improved data coverage, and a so-called Japan initiative. And I was never thinking that I received, yesterday was this big fair, the IP Service World, and I did the tool check, and there was specific Japan questions about is the user interface integrated and so. And therefore, Japan is one of our target markets. And also, we are one of the few tools that are actually able to not only be in English, also to be in Chinese and Japanese. And this is what a lot of users enjoy, especially if they're like big enterprises who have a user base in Japan, in Europe, or in US. We also have German, and for sure we have French. That was somehow non-negotiable. Now, about AI features, we will go a bit more in detail about, therefore I will not talk too much about this, but the multi-label classifier is what will be also presented by Jean-Michel. Then the report generator gets improved. We already have a report generator for Sophia Search, but it's also like it shall help to get the results better out. Then the agentic system for the search, and agentic AI is a big topic in 26 and 27 in general. The question is, what is behind that? Because there are AI agents and there's agentic AI, which are different technical concepts. And that we have to be aware of. Therefore, how it's done, I cannot tell too much. I have to invite you for 27. So for the roadmap presentation 27. And the graph analyzer goes about statistics. With that, I'm way too early. So we are now in the question and answers. The next session will start at 10:50 for the online participants. Therefore, now it would be the time to ask you questions about the strategic level. And because in the next session, we speak about in detail what are the features which will change and will be introduced. So this would be really more about, okay, what you on this, as I said, strategic level. So other questions? Yes.
Is MCP part of your investigation?
Is MCP part of the investigation? Yeah. I confess I'm. Jean-Michel, would you come here? That is in the microphone. That's Jean-Michel, actually the person who knows the most about all this. But I try to catch up.
Yeah, MCP is a kind of standard between the tools, AI tools,
yeah.
And effectively, this is when we want to develop agentic solution.
Yeah.
So effectively, this is something we are working on. I will not explain a lot more about that, but this is something we are aware, and in fact, the youngest people in the team are playing with that already. And it's funny to see because it changed totally our mind. So it really makes sense that we
explain what MCP is?
MCP, as I said, it's kind of protocol of exchange between the AI. So it's how, for example, with ChatGPT, you can connect ChatGPT to Orbit Intelligence and ask and launch a query, retrieve the document, analyze it, send it to another AI solution to do something, to categorize, for example. So you can.
Is it correct to say then it's an AI communication standard?
Yeah, we can say that. Yeah.
Between AI systems.
Yeah. And it's the basic for the light interface, the very simple interface.
Which will come.
Which will come.
Okay.
So, yeah. Thank you for the question.
Thank you. So, other questions? Another question? Yeah?
In our community, we've been discussing a little bit. We see there's a lot of companies going towards the research and focusing on the research. And it's quite simple because we also understand business. So the ratio between the searches and the attorneys is large. The ratio between searches and R&D people, that's huge. So we can understand that there's the potential. When you're looking at the AI agentic search, for example, is that developed for the R&D or is it something that's developed so we can interact with it?
First of all, I will repeat your question for that the online audience can hear it. There was the statement, first of all, that there's, I would say, like knowledge gap or context gap between audience. That you have a patent searcher and who works, for example, for a patent attorney, that where it's clearer, but the distance between the patent searcher and, for example, an R&D engineer or an innovator or designer is much higher. And is the agentic search used to cover that gap? Is this correct?
No, what I would say is that there's a little bit of a fear in the community that we are so few, so the companies will focus on the R&D teams because the amount, yes, because the business is bigger. It's just
I understand. You mean in terms of like will be the development directed only to light users?
Yeah, more.
Therefore, in Orbit we have our core audience, and there's still the professional patent searchers. And one aspect for sure is to make Orbit more accessible for occasional users, but still, and some of the features we show, they're dedicated to professional users. You need to have a professional thing. This is like understanding. Therefore, to answer this question, no, we don't want to lose our core audience. Orbit will be, in my opinion, wouldn't also make sense to remarket Orbit as the R&D search tool, because Orbit Intelligence has the reputation to be used by professionals and you use it when it matters. And therefore, we want to work on that claim. Sorry. Good. Yeah, it was directed also for this. Yeah. Good. I see in the chat we don't have a question. Oh, we have what in Q&A. If you have any questions, please. Okay. Thank you, Aaron.
Well, we came a little bit late, but you have here this AI roadmap 2025. So this is now all built into the system. For the premium. That's our forward user.
For some, oh, here you have the detailed map. Not ready yet, but I can voice over, no problem. Most of the Sophia features are only for the levels advanced and premium. So Sophia search, Sophia document, which means the document chat, and the advanced AI search, where you have this automated review included, that's for advanced and premium. The general AI search, where we says, this is, and you know this perhaps better than myself, where we speak about vectorization, which means we input text and we actually re-index our database by an AI, that it's readable for an AI. This approach is Sophia Search, which is there for everyone. Therefore, part of this AI feature, it has everyone, the AI search, which is also hosted by our servers, but the advanced or more sophisticated, where it says, please extract me the features and please review those patterns that you have retrieved according to this feature and tell me which are the ones, which are the most relevant ones and where it's written, and give me the snippet. That is tied for advanced and premium users.
I saw
Saying that they should be changed somewhere. Because we thought that we are premium users.
There was for the online audience. There was this question. I was wondering, are the AI features enabled? And this is a very important information, perhaps, for all users. We have in Orbit in Orbit Intelligence a right management where it's possible to activate and deactivate AI functions. If you have like a very strict AI policy, it's very easy to tune down the AI functions. I must say it's a pity because some of them are really good, but with that you can really prevent that something goes outside. If it's really one of the concerns, we have this no policy, it's still possible. In a talk in 2024, I spoke about different types of AI tools. And there's like this AI first, which means without AI, the whole system does not work. Then we have like AI augmented, which means big part of the functionality is based on AI, but without AI, it still does main value. For example, with the Kofina tool, you could assume it's an AI tool, AI first tool, but it's a digital workplace tool, which means if I turn away the AI, it loses a lot of its attractivity. But I can access the files, I can do the PDF work, I can do register. I just don't have this handy document functions where it does a lot of the work for me. Now, Orbit comes in the third category, what we call AI enhanced, which means if I turn away all of the AI features of Orbit, it's still a powerful search tool. You don't need AI to work great with Orbit because big part of this, and here I have to give a shout out to the audience and to the online listeners, is you, because you're capable users. And when you know how to wield Orbit, it's tremendously powerful and reliable. Therefore, there was some of the younger startups, they teased me a bit where they said like, yeah, you know, you're the dinosaurs and we are the modern and AI and this. And I was joking, yeah, you have a tiger, but be aware, we are a dinosaur, but it's a T-Rex. Therefore, but also the AI functions comes now. Good. So there's a question. Will you include research disclosure in Orbit Intelligence? The question is, I would say no, because it's already there.
Yeah.
It is in the NPL section. So when you're on the hit list view, you click on NPL, and on the left, there's a filter where you can say, give me defensive publication. There you find the research disclosures.
I think it's not there for that. That's the, let's say, I don't know how many words you can have
Kind of abstract. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm not absolutely sure, but I think effectively it's kind of abstract that we are indexing in the NPL. So you retrieve effectively the content based on this part of documents. It's not the full text. So yeah, okay, I can take the point and see what we can, if it's, of course, technically it's absolutely possible to include the full text, but you know, we do not do that for the other NPL, so it would be specific. So we have to decide if we do something specific for this part of documents.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Research elsewhere, but the research disclosures is good.
Yeah. Okay.
So we would like, I mean, for us, it would be an improvement to insert the full text.
Yeah. Okay. I think we should do something separately. Something very, very simple, but yeah. Okay. But it's a good point. Thank you.
And therefore, it's also one part of the idea of this event is also answering uncomfortable questions. For us, uncomfortable questions. For you, it's not that uncomfortable, I hope, because it's important.
Take it with a smile.
What shall I do? Crying is also not a solution. Yeah. And just today, someone said like, yeah, you're always smiling. It's just like, that's my beard style. It's disguising because always looks like a smile, but actually sometimes I really like pleasure of working with clients. No, I'm joking. So therefore NPL, yes. And also part of the data set of Orbit is that you have the research disclosures. And usually you would have to pay like $45 when you need them. And it's our unique service. Therefore, it's in the NPL data there. I agree with the NPL search. How it works is not based on keywords, which makes it very difficult in Orbit Intelligence to precise. You have a lot of like irrelevant hits with that, because what happens is the and Jean-Michel, correct me if I understand it correctly, there's a similarity kind of search based on the search results retrieved. Yeah.
Yeah, in a way, yes. But it's far from perfect, I would say. The goal is to limit the effort for user to search in the NPL, but yeah, in fact, we use the query used by the user for search for patterns in the NPL. So of course, the classification code and everything can be used. So when it's not possible, then we do a concept extraction of the patterns retrieved with the pattern query. And we create a query based on the most important concept from these results. And then we search in the NPL. But of course, it's, as I said, far from perfect, because the language, the way it's written between NPL and patterns is totally different, you know that. So yeah, that's what we do to have a solution, but of course, once again, it's not perfect. I think if we would like to go further in the NPL, and if it's a demand, we can do that. It's to be able to create a pure query for NPL. So you would use different vocabulary, different words to retrieve it, and then it would be better in terms of results. But the demand is not, for the moment, the demand is not big enough to invest in this field. So that's why we keep this method for the moment.
I think we haven't pushed that because we know it's so difficult to access the data.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah.
That's why we haven't pushed for the NPL research with other tools.
Yeah.
But what would be really of interest for us would be the standardization documents for validity searches, because we do a lot of validity searches, and the standardization documents, we cannot access them because they are behind walls.
Yeah.
I was asked to repeat what was said. Therefore, the question was from Joni, where he was speaking about that NPL search with the search firm, where they use specialized databases with this, because the issue is not necessarily the query, the retrieval is also part of having access, because the NPL field, and this is with any type of search database, there's like some providers who have a part, and now other providers will have a part. And there's like premium data you cannot access without a subscription. That would cost more. How we solved it in Orbit is that we says everything which is publicly available, we try to give. But for some, you only can get the abstract, not the full text information. That's the reason why Joni explained that for the professional searches, when it's not about research disclosures, they prefer the scientific literature databases they licensed extra for their work. And to repeat, there was one important thing that Jean-Michel said, that was about concepts. There's one part what I spoke earlier about data, that we took the data from the offices and do an enrichment. That's, for example, adding, not only splitting it into fields that you can search, for example, object of invention. In my opinion, and please, dear clients, because you have a better market overview than me, because most competitors don't want to talk too much about how good their software is with me, but they do. Searching for object of invention. Still today, I'm not aware of another tool who can do this. specifically, because, and this is now also a bit of best practice, if you allow me this, audience. We pattern searchers tend to search what we get, like, oh, I have a new device, that does that, and usually we try first to search for the same device, like the actual features. Then sometimes you hit a roadblock or so, and then you try to search for the functions, and this goes in the direction of solving the problem. When you have this thing, there's always this question, okay, how does the prior art teach? Which direction does the prior art teach? You need this for an attorney would need this for an argument to say, oh, that's the reason why it's new, because the prior art does it all the way. Therefore, it's so good in Orbit that it has object of invention, because then you don't search for the device, you search for the job. And then you find other devices or other principles how to do that. And that could be used for your argumentation. Still today, I'm not aware of another tool who can do this. It's not fancy, it's not an AI function, and it's not something new that we offer. It's something we offered for years. It's part of when you're your own data provider. That's the reason why it's good to be your own data provider. You can do such things. And concepts is the second part of the enrichments, where it says, back then it was used to improve the query coverage. But in my opinion, what I didn't like, it was only available for the whole document, which means if I didn't put the synonym for cars, if I searched in the concepts, it understood, oh, vehicles also fine. And therefore, I don't have to come with all the different versions of the words. In reality, when you use it, in my opinion, you get too much documents when you do a keyword search. If you don't want to, if you want to focus on claims and this, that's the only downside on concepts. And a lot of the analysis functions, for example, also works on the concepts. And this is then used for the NPL. Good. Let me check if there's another question. There's a good thing. All these features look promising, but what about the user experience? One example is labels list with images, which is very helpful. However, if you select the labels list, the images instantly flip back to the first image, even if you're looking at the last one. And if you're image driven in the search, especially in the mechanical, this is really time consuming. How to ensure that the user experience is nice? Liam is New York. Yes, it will come. Let me perhaps answer one thing first. How to ensure is that I will take this comment. Can you send me an email, Aaron, with this text that I have it in my inbox, and put it as an handling request? That's the first thing.
Yeah, in fact, it will not be exactly an handstand request. It's bug fix. This is, yeah, it's not a good behavior. We discussed about this point Monday with the team, so I hope that this will be fixed in the coming days. So sorry for that, and it's in the way to be fixed.
I will send it to you by email too, to ensure it will be a Monday cover. Thank you. So there was the question why NPL is not searchable in full text like the patent documentation. I think I don't know if it has something to do with the history, because research disclosure defensive publications, they used to have only 4 pages as they were printed. This was the old format of it. I don't know if that's the reason why it's like cut off after 4 pages, because technically there was no more pages, but the system evolved. Now you can have a research disclosure with I'm not sure if there's even a page limit.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I think we have, if we want to go again in this field, we would have to create something specific. And I was thinking about that. I think, we have index in Orbit Intelligence with FAMPAD, full pad, full text. These are different indexes. This is also something very specific in Questel. I don't know if other companies are working in this way. It's very impressive in terms of size of document. But we could create other indexes. We plan to do that for Japanese document, for example. And perhaps could we do that for full text, particularly for standards and for defensive disclosure. So this is something we could think about, and how you to search in this way. Yeah, okay, so yeah.
Surprisingly, you can guess who asked the question. Perfect. So let's have a look. There are other questions? No. Do we have some other questions here? Yes.
Other Sophia?
Yes. I mean, we have to define what is the Sophia functions. Sophia search, the AI search, and the search. Correct me. Currently, it's possible to use AI search, and there will be the second evolution where you have the this thing with that you define please define features and give me.
Yeah, this. Honestly, I'm not sure that this is planned. We plan to have the simple Sophia search, so not with the feature extraction, but
yeah, it's live. I know that.
Yeah, it's not. Okay.
All the semantic searches, semantic searches, they run now on Sophia AI.
So that's what I'm not sure. I will check and I will tell you.
Yeah, in what I know, the API. We're speaking about the API. Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong. I worked on API is the same.
Yeah.
And I know it's live, which means the results are now based on.
Oh yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, the semantic because before that we had a semantic search. The semantic search were very early in the 2010s, so it was good. Therefore, based on the time, therefore with concepts extraction. But nowadays it was not that good anymore. So we did the Sophia search to have the AI search. This is now our standards, and it took a bit time to now also introduce this with the interface options that we provide. I'm not sure if everyone is aware about this, but for example, you can license the engine of Orbit. The front end could be totally different. You can do your own front end, but the full search power you could access over the API services. Has a brand name called iOrbit. Therefore, and some of our clients they fill with distinguish between kind of the search capabilities like Orbit or the data provision. Therefore, we have clients, for example, who use it for the inventor portal to provide the first prior art searches. With that, that's some context to understand what we were talking about. Thank you. Other questions? Now we come. No problem. We have a bit of time. Now we come, I think, to one of the most exciting parts and also the most risky ones. I literally will risk my job for you because I will speak a lot about things that are planned where people say, don't go too much into details. Don't do. Therefore, it comes with a warning. Everything I said here is with a disclaimer. It's not a promise that we can deliver or will deliver. Therefore, please have here some patience with me. Pardon? Yeah, and also, do you want to pay? Good point. Therefore, there's a question in the chat about NPL. I will put it on the side now for the next session, but I will come back to you, Hans, with Jean-Michel. Then, therefore, also the information I share here with you, there's a certain confidentiality. This is more about. We are very interested in getting your feedback what you think about this stuff, which means some of the stuff may change over time. Maybe it will be just in 27, I don't know, or will be sooner. And that's the point where it says we cannot give guarantees. And also like when you hear like, oh, they do now a great search and I'm so happy with this new feature. And you tell this to another person and the person says, hey, they never delivered it. And therefore this is the idea of confidentiality. In terms of like other providers, competition, honestly, we're all working in the field and ideas to a certain degree free. And at some point, they will see it anyways in the software. They also will hear it from clients, as we hear from clients when another provider does a good job. Therefore, also, and this is also, I think, one part that I really enjoy on Questel, we are not an aggressive competitor. We are a market player. We form strategic relationships. We are part of the ecosystem. And no matter if you use Orbit Intelligence or PubBase or Derwent innovation, that's not the point. We are partners to the clients. We're not competitors to other companies. We don't need to, sorry, Vivian, but we don't need to conquer the market share. We want to delight users. We want to have partners. And it's one part of when we look at our data and our statistics, most of our clients are long-term clients for years. And as it is, sometimes there's a budget cut, sometimes they need another tool, sure. But always we have this that we work together. Therefore, that's about philosophy. Let's talk about features. Now, this will be funny for sure, is that we're now speaking about, okay, what were the roots for success in the past? Because one thing when you do culture and change, you have to be aware that the company culture and also the philosophy in the tool, the DNA, is usually baked from the past successes. And the roots that we have, that goes that Orbit was really great or is great in terms like the data, the search analysis features, Sophia AI. Now it comes where people say like, monitoring and collaboration nowadays. But you have to think of it, how old the software is. We're one of the first offering it. We were one of the first offering it on an enterprise grade level. And back then what you saw was like state of the art. Is it nowadays state of the art? Maybe you would say prior art reference, perhaps. But this was one reason why we have these features. And we're working so good. And we have clients who says like, hey, when you change something, we may have to change our process. Please be very careful. And that's like the thing where we says, okay, we're now doing it, and we're doing it very, we try to do it with very great care. There's also one part where I got the job and also risking my job to have the communication here. And when we look at the first point, it's data. And earlier I referred to it about that this is one of the big advantages of Orbit, the data source. And for the next year, what we planned is that on one hand, we have a revised corporate tree. The corporate tree as it works nowadays is that we have a provider, as I explained, that Orbit is a system of systems, and we receive the information from a provider, because here we are not monitoring right now millions of companies in the financial thing, that's the provider, but we plan to do it. That's an ongoing project for years, which says we want to have now our own integration because we were not so happy how the corporate tree works. And I think all of the users here and who has used it, sometimes it works really great, sometimes it doesn't. My recommendation, and this is also one of my initiatives that I will do for the key clients, is that I ask them, what are your most important companies of interest? And then I will feed that in our data team. That will be like a backlog that says for the crucial one, it will be ensured that the entries are correct again. Now you ask, Ricardo, why don't do it by default? It's 2.5 million entries. And also there are things like, for example, this is automotive. I think I'm not sure if it was Stellantis or Peugeot. There was this, there's a joint venture between different companies. And why it's not shown like this? The problem was the joint venture by financial terms is not a joint venture. Therefore, this is like the thing like, okay, Orbit does what it should in terms, but is to the known user still a wrong information. This is also, for example, and here I have to quote Infineon. When we speak about, when you do sometimes this competitive benchmark, and if you allow me a bit of best practice now, sliding in, when you do competitive benchmarks, when you analyze, for example, the Infineon portfolio, then you would see, oh, there are patents co-owned by Apple. Then you could conclude like, wow, Infineon and Apple works together. The problem is, what happened is Infineon back then had a large telecommunication portfolio. They reassigned. And as you do reassignments, you do it only for the alive documents, which means the applications, the international applications, or the countries which were pruned, they're still assigned to Infineon. And Infineon never licensed it to Apple. They licensed it to another company, and that company got licensed then to reassigned it to Apple. Therefore, that's now the difficulty that we have on the data side, because the data says Infineon is for the abandoned patent family members, patent assigning, and also the current holder is Apple. Now, what to show? Therefore, always this is what makes great patent searches and users try to understand where it comes from. Have a look there. You need to validate the settings. Yes, software somehow could do it, but the problem is where to get the context information which is reliable. That's always the problem. Yes, the next one is the new AI curated and enriched search fields. Nowadays, we have AI at a scale, becomes much more affordable. And I talked about it, we have these 80+ search fields where you can use. Now, in future, there will be more search fields. They will be generated by AI, where it's then reading the input information, but it comes to things. Jean-Michel, can we disclose some of the new search fields? AI generated search fields, or?
Yeah. You're talking about the pre-processing.
Yeah.
So it's not totally completed yet. So, but we will have, all you have in the AI lab tab, where you have the title and abstracts computed by LLM. This is currently pre-processed, so we are going to index it, so it will be searchable, and it will be displayed also directly in the hit list, if you decide to see that instead of the official version. And then you will be able to search in this specific field, title AI and abstract AI, and we will see if we do some subfields for what you mentioned about object of invention or things like that.
The improved one.
Yeah.
The improved, because we already have it. But there's a company a competitor I mentioned, starting with a D, which always is very proud of their abstracts, therefore on their improved titles. Now we have it then too. And therefore, I wouldn't prefer to name, but actually in our internal thing, we call it like, oh, the D killer stuff. Because it's like literally then also competing on their USP. Because honestly, I don't believe today that they are capable of doing it still with human experts. It's too many patent documents. Therefore, it would be one hand very costly. On the other hand, I'm doubting they can have the high quality they had before. Therefore, because so many documents. It's also with us. Do you think of it, why we changed our search engine? And it was one big problem was the system that we had, the original system, it came to its limits because it was too much data. Now, that was the reason why we had to go with Elasticsearch. It's not that we said, oh, let's torture our user base. we let's see how much they like us and have patience with us. It was really was time to do it. And also the technology got slow. You have to think of it. Now it was where people were speaking about this with QP, and they said, hey, have in mind how old this technology is. that it was capable of being okay in 2022 after 15 years. That speaks how revolutionary and great it was launched. Therefore, and we plan to do this. Another thing. Yeah, new types of data. This goes also in the direction of sustainability development goals. This is more interesting for the IP strategist. We get this question. If you have to do it now, my recommendation is you can ask the Sophia document chat to give you the categorization for it. Because as you read the patent, you try to find it. Back then, actually, I had, if I was in my former company doing portfolio optimization, one thing where I was using, and this you can also replicate with UAIs. When you have an AI system in your company, you could, for example, provide an orbit export of title abstract claims and the key content, very important key content, the object of invention, because and the advantages over prior art, because there in these two fields usually it's told why they are doing it. And this why you're doing it, you can translate somehow and bridge to sustainability goals, or also business needs. Good. Let's talk about search and analysis feature. One big thing will be AI image to text, which means this is the image search, but how it works will be about that you get an image, it will be processed by an AI, and it will be translated into text. And the text will be executed on the database because the majority of our data is text-based. So the best result you will have there. That's the reason why we go in this direction. The other one, the user interface improvement. And this is now, it sounds here a little bit less, but this is a big deal because the saved searches, the alert center, they're all, it only hurts if it's true. They are long overdue to be rehauled. Therefore, they're a bit outdated. The usability is not that good. Therefore, that's part of it. Also, it's planned to do the hit list view that we have. That is also be improved to make it more modern and good. Then the other thing is this classification technology, because it's not only for alerts or for review, but the idea is also you can use it for search. And that's one of the good things that we can say, that you can filter down more easily your result set. Jean-Michel, about the classification technologies, is it? Do we have a final decision if the Boolean one will be available for everyone? Because the AI classifier at the moment will be then for advanced and premium.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah, you are talking about the binary. Yes, the binary classifier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's available for premium and advanced.
The new stuff. The new classifier.
So we're going to
really hypothetical, okay? So with a lot of not guaranteed, and we are thinking of.
Yeah, for the moment we keep both. The binary one, which is based on machine learning, and the other one based on LLM, embedding computing, and we will decide when we will compare the result, because it's not done yet. If the results are good enough in binary mode for the multi-level classifier, then we will replace the former version. But for the moment, we keep both. Yeah, and just one point in advance, I'm going to talk about that, but the multi-level classifier, the new one, will be implemented only on the smart list, not in the work files. So this is also something very important.
Therefore, we also will later speak about later speak about how we envision the integration of smart lists. Therefore, it's so important to have you as voice of customer to say what you expect. Therefore, my first feeling was, oh, big migration project, we have to do this like this and this. And then I saw what you will see later. And the good thing is, it's kind of envisioned that Just have to switch here something before my PC runs out of power. Good. Now it's charging again. Perfect. Migration, because in the first versions of smart lists, the idea is that the workflow and how you use it is like a work file, which means for you just choose different, and then it has the new features as it's there, it's on the same place, so it's very convenient. So that's the idea, to make migration efforts as low as possible. We have clients with big repositories based on work files. The idea is that don't change too much these things for existing users. New users, they can decide how they want to do it a bit more differently, sure, but we really want to keep it as low as possible. I might just switch to something. Yeah. So first of all, we'll repeat the question for the online audience. It was, how does this AI image to text search works? Yeah, how it's doing its job. Now I have to go one step back. We re-indexed our database with this so-called LMM embeddings, which means the vectorization that the AI, the way how the AI thinks, can read like and therefore, which means vectorization and embeddings is only readable by AI, by the way. It's not possible for a human to review. We don't understand it, we don't get it. Now, what we're doing with this approach, this AI to text, is to bridge the visual information into the vectorization over text. Therefore, there's an import function. This is something I will then, is then enriched in Sophia search, and will also be is planned to happen in next months, actually. So very soon you have it. And there's a kind of an import function. And in the import function, you can give, for example, a larger text. You can give up to 5 images. And based on that, there's an input generated for the semantic search that will be then executed. So you don't have to think yourself about, okay, what should I put there? Or what is on this image? That's the idea.
So would it then be possible to upload, let me say, the invention disclosure with images?
This is a good question. I'm not sure, but I think we should have to put it as an enhancement. I mean, I cannot speak for this feature, but we have the technology.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it's very early stage for us. We are late, to be frank, on this field. But we, of course, the good thing is when we will deliver something, it will be state of the art. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's effectively the idea, to be able to do that, to combine text and images.
What I was speaking about technology was, we have a drafting tool called Quatent. In Quatent, it's possible to import the invention disclosures or project descriptions, and it actually can extract images. And one of the minds behind all the AI features, part of our AI lab, is Professor Gerdes, which was one of the co-founders of that software. So therefore, it's like we have the technology. And I think if there's the user demand in particular, it would be possible to integrate. I cannot promise it's there, but at least I can see the dots. Therefore, I hope we can connect the line to have it in there. For example, when you say you want to have it, this would be a great point. Also, now assuming for the larger ones, we have a lot of services where we provide the patent search for invention disclosures. for the inventor portals, where this service, if it's possible to run it over the API, would be of high interest. Question is, this is now a lot of if, and we have to think about how to do it. Yes. Let me please repeat it for the online audience, because unfortunately, for my stress factor of today, the microphones were not working properly. That's the reason why we have this not so good sound. Therefore, because it was the question in the audience, why you don't have a microphone? That's the point we had, and then it was reassured yesterday. Yeah, they're working. Today they're not working. So you see, we live in the thing. Anyways, about your question, to repeat it, the idea or the demand or question was about, can it process videos? Because for invention harvesting, it's very good and very user convenient to have like an interview where the user is recorded with video and they just talk, they explain, they show they have something on their PC and they explain the invention. And then this is used as an input. Therefore, this is quite the effort to do in terms of AI, because you have to process the video and this. I'm not sure if we have something here planned in Orbit, but what I believe, it could be interesting for the other team. Because we have an IP management system, also like an invention harvesting system, Equinox invention. For them, it would be an interesting thought. I don't want to make too much advertisement, but I wrote a book. And this was where things like, yeah, I made a recommendation to do Teams call recording, talk with the inventors, use the transcribe function, and then give it with the thing to an AI to generate the invention disclosure. When you can do it and when it's allowed, currently policies. But this usually is basically just the way how it happens. You have an inventor interview about invention disclosure, and then just the poor person was typing it. Mm. And back then, that was my job. Therefore, I feel the pain, and I like that. Therefore, I really can understand what you're saying, what you're wanting with that. Mm. Good. A new type of charts. Here, I don't have too much information. But in Orbit, it's like this, in the analysis module, you have like these predefined charts. And I don't know if you noticed it this year. There was a lot of change. First of all, they look good now. This was like, sorry to say that, it was really like they look now good. Part of it is, and this is often with softwares, sometimes you have this external components, and therefore, and it's our technology as understood is called M-charts, and this was then updated to the newest version of it. Now they're wonderful looking because they're using the latest version of the technology. Therefore, what we also plan is still more with the thing when we have new data fields, the way how we ask questions can be changed, and therefore we plan to introduce a bit more, and also to catch up on the analysis part. Sophia AI. So first of all, most important, all AI functions evolve. Therefore, there will be integrations. We're talking here about onto one part of what will improve of existing stuff and what will be new stuff. We have something which we call Sophia Analyze. And this is what you also maybe saw with some other competitors. You have a portfolio and you want to ask questions, and it delivers you the strategic insights. That's what we plan with Sophia Analyze. You have the AI support on the analysis module, and there you can ask questions. It can interpret the slide. And if you allow me to give another advice, you actually can, when you have a multimodal AI in your company, for example, you could give the slide as graphic. It's possible to export as a picture and just give it to the AI as your analyst. I always recommend give context of your own company and then ask it for strategic insights. And then it comes with this typical analyst thing, like company A versus B is better, and here we could interpret that. And it's usually a good start and save some time. Therefore, I hope soon it will be integrated too. Good. Yes. Wait a minute, I have to repeat the question. So let's do one question by another, okay? Let me answer in a second, okay? The question was about the point, Sophia search improvement, more control in inputs. Inputs was what I mentioned with this importer function. And the control is about currently when you use the feature extraction, it's sure you can only influence it over the text. You could write focus more on feature blah, 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 and regenerate the features. In a very soon release, it's possible to influence the feature generation. That's what is meant with more control. So you have more stronger and easier access to influence what features you have there. Currently, you get a list of features and you can say this one, yes or no, but not this one maybe needs to be a bit finer, the other one needs to be broader, or two needs to be together. That's the point with more control. Okay. I'm very keen about your second question. Oh, this was the second question? Thank you. I just repeat for the online audience, it was about it's meeting the user's expectations to have this more influence on how the search is executed and what is shown there. So therefore, it's a good point. I see here 2 questions in the chat. So I start with first, are you having any development plans related to retrieving amended claims from the registers in ongoing prosecutions and making them searchable with highlights, just as claims as filed? Do you have a question? Do you have an answer? Then I would say that's a brilliant question that I need to put as an enhancement request. Because I'm not aware of it. Aaron sent me an email. Therefore, you see, I get it in my inbox. I have no excuse not to ask it. Good. Next question, comment. As for the type of charts, the colors are not always discriminative enough to show the differences on screen, e.g. market coverage, world map. So we need stronger color differences. Enhancement request, I see that. I mean, what is, for example, now we have a custom chart color. So you can, if you don't like blue, you can put now, for example, a black. It's nice from certain companies, and therefore your own corporate color. What I think is very important in future, and I was put into enhancement requests, is also like have more chart color control, because it's not only about selecting the type of color. So this could be also for the, I'm not sure for the world map, it's also like if it will be from a custom chart color affected. I never tried it out, but this would be.
It's coming, but many things are coming.
Yeah. In that regard. So thank you very much for that question or comment. Yes? From what? Yes, the question about the highlighting colors. So just to repeat for the online audience, it was about the amount of highlighting colors that we have and the colors itself. And I heard it several times. I don't know, Jean-Michel, one part of this experience is that actually I have a developer to be roasted.
Yeah, effectively the number of colors is a typical question in the team, and developers always say, okay, how many do you want? And okay, so 2 things about that. Of course, we can increase the number. It's not a technical issue. It's more effectively a optical issue. You have to find a way to distinguish the different colors. So that's the main problem. Besides, the important thing is we plan to redevelop the highlighting system because we want to improve, or in fact, not to improve, we want to allow you to share the highlighting rules in a better way. So if we want to do that, we have to improve the highlighting system. And we would like also to work with probably AI to work on this issue. It's not sure that we are going to use it, but it's possible to create rules for highlight with AI as a suggestion for you. And so many things are coming with highlights next year. but the number of colors should be the easiest thing to do.
Thank you. Yes, Joni.
There's a lot of development done on the large language models. I'm not asking which one you're using, but how are you verifying that you have the language model that is best suited?
This is a good question. I repeat it. So there was a question about the AI technology is evolving very fast. And there's like, for example, OpenAI was for a long time the gold standard. There was nothing close. Now Gemini is quite good. And maybe Claude will be good. And there's for several different, how do we, what we call software, be agnostic to these models? And can we share this about the...
What we can share is the fact that we are using many LLMs and we effectively choose one. So we experiment the different release, the new release of the different LLMs, and we decide which one will be used by default. We have a kind of gateway allowing us to enable the LLM in production and associated with the feature. So yeah, we can say that currently we are using the, I can say, but I'm not sure. I think we are using the OpenAI 4.1, but I believe that we are experiencing the 5.1. We tried the 5.0, as I said before. We tried the 5.0, but the 5.0, with the 5.0, OpenAI decide for the model, so it could change. And it was not reliable for us, so that's why we kept the 4.1. But now, effectively, Gemini looks better. So it's possible that in the coming days, we will switch to Gemini.
Now, to answer this question, we have this gateway, which means we're bridging our servers, but this is to this gateway. And depending on what we decided from the evaluation, which model is good, the gateway has the connection to the model, which means which model is being used as engine is no problem to switch. For example, we also have users, and this is no secret, in China and in Russia. And the point is that there is a really big problem providing US technologies to such countries. Also, not only user preference. And therefore, for our dear Chinese users, we use a different model, which is based on Chinese, therefore the Qwen model. And therefore, it's really like the features are enabled then by the model, which is in that jurisdiction, even the best one. Therefore.
Just one additional point about the prompting. As the prompt is, of course, associated with the model, we have to change the prompt. So even if we use another LLM system in China, for example, we have to adapt the prompting to this model. And we are also still improving our prompt. So
we don't do hot switching then of the models, like, today I feel like Qwen.
But currently we are, for example, working hard to improve the Sophia query prompting system to be able to handle, for example, the Japanese classification codes, to be better on the CPC and IPC selection codes, to work better on truncation and things like that. So this is the ongoing development we have.
Good. About Sophia document. Sophia document was this, we can chat with a record. It's planned in future, a very near future, you can chat with more than one record. I don't have too much details, but it's there. Also with the agentic AI search, I have no further information except that it comes. Therefore, that's unfortunately, but it comes. That's the most important thing. Therefore, for some features, have a bit more knowledge, for others, have a bit less. Now, we had monitoring. Now, next year will be a revamp of this complete alert experience, which is, in my opinion, a very crucial one because we have a lot of monitoring clients. Therefore, for them, it's not a nice to have, it's a must have. And currently, it's like this. We have very precise control. The problem is the way to tell what you want is maybe, I would say you may need to read 1 or 2 help pages to get it. It's not that easy. Also the way how it's set it up and to make this needs a bit of like context understanding from the company, what they're looking for, and how it's represented in patent data, not Orbit, in patent data. And based on that, we come to the next dimension, which is how does Orbit this? And just as a quick reminder, just as a refresher, we have this alert system, which means we receive once a week a data change, and your query is executed when a certain condition is met. That's the alert code. For example, there's a new family, there's a change in legal status, there is an abstract present, there's a new citation, and that is then triggering the execution of the search script. That's how it works. And then you decide where it goes. Should it go to work file, in future to smart list, or do you want to have an email? Yeah, shared alerts, you heard already about the highlighting, but also one big ask for it is that clients want to share the alerts, because currently it's very user-based, which means there needs to be one user. Also, my recommendation here for my clients, when they have like a global license, that there's one dedicated alert user, because then you could share the access, or the administrators can go over Connect as that, and then you have one place where it is. Otherwise, you need to do some management, who covers what. And that becomes, for example, I had recently that a person left and was then a new person hired. And the easiest way, what I do, I recommend my clients is then switch the email and the name of the account. Then he has the same information. And usually you don't have too much personal information in Orbit.
How to try to do the surplus.
Yes. Jean-Michel, why? I'm very interested to know how to use it. One, yeah. Yeah, let me, I repeat the question was about, hey, the Sophia search is good. Why we can't use it in alerts? And there's also other things that doesn't work in alerts. Therefore, today we are very open. So we will hear it.
Yeah, technically it would be doable. Comparing to the previous system, it was not that easy to develop, but with Sophia search backend based on embeddings, we will be able to do that in the future. So it comes.
Oh,
Okay.
lovely question. The other thing, and this is a good point, I'm not sure if it will be solved this year, but I hope so, is citation search. Because currently it's not possible to have, there's a workaround, I can teach you how to get citation in an alert, but this very nice citation feature that we have in the hit list is not properly executed. And it has to do with that when you are referring to information, the information needs to be present in the alert data set, which means if there's not the source document with the citations are 0 or empty, therefore it cannot find anything. The search step will be with 0. And the tricky thing is you can test the alert settings on the database. And on a database, it works because there's the source information available. And here comes a good trick. If you ever want to do this, you can, in Orbit, I spoke about the 80 fields, and one field is citation. So you can search for the company name in the citation field, and then you would retrieve, for example, patents that cite your company. And it's always good to know why when someone is citing you and why they are citing you. Good. Storing hits, smart lists is like the combining factor, enabling technology. This part will be explained a bit more. Let me check with the time. Perfect. Now, the other thing is collaboration, where we have an initiative with what we call Workplace and the shared alerts. In the Workplace, the idea is this was also often asked because earlier I mentioned about transactional software. The Orbit back then was designed in mind, and this was also user reality. You do project management and your file management, not in the tool. You have your own system, you have your file records, you do this there. Now the user behavior changed. People says, I want to store projects now, manage the things with this, and I want to collaborate more. This is what we try to cover with that initiative. How it will look in detail, I will also be surprised. Therefore, but you can bet on me that I'm very interested in it, because for a lot of clients it helps to have this good to have a good way to decide if they want to store and organize their work in Orbit or if they want to do it outside. You have some additional comments to Workplace?
Yeah, we have many ideas about that for Workplace. In fact, we effectively want to allow you to, when you connect, as we know you when you are connected, to retrieve everything, to retrieve even the data set. So we would like to, for the person who knows what is the .nim function, which disappears with Elasticsearch, we would like to recreate something where you can define a data set, a kind of sub-data set of the global database. So when you connect, you are working on this data set. You don't have to add some keywords or classification codes in your queries because you are in this data set and then you search in it. And this is for the search feature, but for the sharing capabilities, we would like effectively to share alerts, but also, as I said, highlight rules. So user connected to the same workplace will be able to retrieve different highlight rules with tags or things like that. Smart list will be, of course, included in the workplaces. So it's really a way to get some fields of research where you can retrieve all the resources from Orbit Intelligence available for the different users.
I mean, you covered one thing, which is for especially the more experienced Orbit users back then, because Lim has its own the lim operator. Back then, what it does was I could say limit to search step number one, and everything executed on the database afterwards was limited to that, and people loved it. But due to technology change, it had to disappear. Therefore, for me, it was like, wow, limit to data set, I'm all in. Therefore, it's a good one. You have a question?
Yeah, do you also review the user model? Because at the moment, it's really difficult to give different users different access rights, and sometimes I think it's also a little bit buggy. So there is that you do not know what really happens at the end. Yeah, so that you often have to test if it really works, or you gave the rights, and the user tells you, I cannot see it. Yeah.
I will repeat the question.
Yeah.
It also comes from the past.
Mm-hmm.
Let me repeat the question for the honor. This is now really about user management. And some of you are maybe aware that what we call the administrative user has access to the administration portal and can assign users to groups. And with that groups, you can set up permissions and rights. And as was it commented, sometimes it feels a bit buggy, and sometimes I think it's also very complex to set up with confidence, because you have to test and you need to be sure how to do. Therefore, that's a bit of also like competence required in that regard, how to test the administration these functions and what you can do in terms of the sharing. And the question was, will this improved with Workplace?
Yes, with Workplace and with all the sharing capabilities, we want effectively to allow you to share resources directly in Orbit Intelligence. So I think we will have to keep part of the settings in Orbit Admin, where you can create groups. This is something very sensible for many users. They want to have the hand on that to be sure that the right person are in the right place. But then when you are using Orbit Intelligence, you should be able to decide, for example, if you create a smart list and you create custom fields, you want this user to be able to use this custom field to assign values or to modify the custom field and everything. So this will be designed in Orbit Intelligence. So yeah, we want to be able to make it better.
Yeah, and this custom field should be connected to the, let me say, to the project or to the work file.
Absolutely. Yeah. We will see that, yes. This is one of the improvements for the smart lists.
I mean, if you allow me, this is now a good question in this audience. Did you ever use what I call distribution groups in Orbit administration? Because what you can do, this is good practice because this is also like the IT systems administrators works, is that you generate, this would also solve a lot of your problems. You need to generate groups. That groups, they don't contain the services, which is tied to the license. They only contain the sharing permissions. There you can set up which user fields they are allowed to see, for which folders it should be, and also if they are allowed to add information to the fields or just should read it, or can they add information to the work file, or can they just read it? That's possible to do right now. Therefore, if this covers a bit what you want,
but I think it
I think this is about updating rights, and it's they have to reload the system, and sometimes it takes time until it's pushed. That goes in this direction. I understand.
Yeah.
So if I understand it also correctly, that the users, even if they're not administrators, they can set up certain permissions themselves when they are sharing.
I think if you give the right to the work file user, then you can also set up the own fields. I think this works. But then you have problem to give another user also the rights to this field. Yeah, so there is, and if you compare it now to if you have OneDrive or some topics in your company, you can press share, and then you are asked who has to share or what rights, read rights, write rights, or no rights. Yeah, and it's an easy click, and normally then it works. Or
the answer. The comment from the user were like that he would wish that there is a good way to share, which is quite convenient. It can be like OneDrive, where you have this very clear sharing options, and it's very easy and like for a person, because when they use it from Microsoft, and the other thing is like, it is not that complicated for an interested user, I would say.
Yeah.
Therefore, and this is a good point, I would say, in terms of the experience you should have with the workplace and then with smart lists, you need to have this fail-proof.
And then the custom project.
Yeah.
Maybe it could be an idea to say, okay, there are custom fields connected to the project, and maybe some overall custom fields are visible every time. So button like a call back, I have a problem, something like that. Yeah. But normally you have the custom fields only used in the project.
Therefore, it was also about the custom fields, how to work. And now we have soon our next topic. Oh, there's, yes. Es gibt noch eine Frage. There's no a question. So far, not possible to set an alert when a chemical structure search is in the query. Would it be possible?
Sorry.
Chemical structure search, chemistry alerts.
Sorry, I'm not a specialist on that. I can't answer.
But it's not possible, so we have to reinvestigate if it's part of the alert experience revamp that will be possible.
Not sure because
I mean, we have to do it. We have to ask and to put it as an enhancement request. Aaron will shoot me an email. We put this as an enhancement request.
What's the question?
You mean the user interface translation? Not because there's a translation based with the record where we have where it's like what is shown there in English. When you have a non-English patent member, there's a machine translation in English. And there's another function when you, for example, I'm a German, I want to read it in German, even if it's English or something else, I could use the translate function there, which is based on Google.
Yes, this is okay. This is what this is translation. When I have a Chinese content, I get the document in the orbit. I can read it in English.
Yeah.
This is translator.
Yeah.
I could.
The experience, yeah.
With the translation.
I repeat it for the online audience. The question is about that in the user interface, you have this translation function over Google where you can, in any language, can get the contents displayed. And this is, to be honest, not very convenient. You have some clicks to do. And if you do a lot of reviewing of many documents, it comes all the time. And the question is there a plan to update this experience? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You are not alone.
Yeah.
You're not alone. Yeah, this is one field we are exploring in the data side. So it's managed by Amandine. So we are always looking for better translation solution. So regarding what we call on-the-fly translation, so we are the feature you described, I'm sure that in the coming months we will find another solution, probably based on LLMs, because it's really faster and faster. The costs are less important as well, so we will be able to use it. So I'm looking forward to have it as well. And regarding the standard translation, again, we are always trying to find the best solution. We are comparing, and we are sometimes buying translation from other companies. So it's always a point of evolution. So feel free to send example of issues you have to this help us to prioritize the change. So
there's the last question.
So you mean that you would have two separate sets of translations, so to say. One is the data set that we search, because you will not be able to index on the fly.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
But what we view, so we have the data set that we search, and then we have on the fly what we will view in orbit.
Only if you use the Google translation. You know, in Orbit Intelligence, you have a way to. But in fact, in Orbit Intelligence, when you display a document, you have a translate button on the top. And if you click here, you have a new window when you can select the language you want, and then you can translate in Swedish, for example, and it's based on Google.
So just to repeat for the online audience, there was a clarification question, what is now meant with on the fly, and the data set version. Now, again, part of the enrichment in orbit of the data is that there will be conducted a so-called neural translation of the source material into English if it's not in English. This is used as input for the search. And now here comes part of my service and risking my job again. Some of these translations were done with earlier versions, and some are done. Everything we get now is done with the latest state-of-the-art translation, which means the oldest translation is maybe not as good as the newest one. When you ever encounter something like this, please just shoot an email to the help desk, says, hey, please redo this translation. We do. Why we don't do it by default, now re-indexing everything? Because we have petabytes of patent information. It's commercially not viable for a profit-oriented organization. If you're a non-profit organization and you have so much funding to spend, you could do. Therefore, because the old one is still okay, it's not wrong. It just could be better. If you have something where it's just like, oh, that's not so good presentable, please shoot an email. We let it run then with the next ones. That's possible. Okay, we have now, I'm a bit over the time, so I propose 5 minutes break, or should we continue? So now with me finally is Jean-Michel. As a small reminder, I don't know if every one of you were in the webinar. We're talking about now the smart list. In that webinar, what I call the insider program, what we did where we launched the webinar, we explained about the smart list, we started a survey where we were first asking for requirements, and then we asked for voting. Therefore, part of this, well, I will also share a bit of the free insights that I had so far. There's, in my opinion, there's at the current level, it's more like a small sample than an actual voice of audience. So I decided to give it 2 more weeks. If you haven't voted, I will send after this meeting again the voting link. Therefore, also I will remind the other clients, because I believe the more the merrier in terms of the voting. So let's dive in there. And what we could see is we had mostly heavy user in the server, which was quite interesting. And there were things like, I was in the absolute opinion that we don't need static records anymore. I was not aware from my clients that they were using it. And then we had a very strong from this survey where people says like, hey, for us it's must have. We need it. And I was like, okay, wow, that's good feedback. It's important to know. And this was the surprise, is why I think it's very good that we have this survey to listen on a scalable way with how to do this. The second was to classify documents not by AI, but with Boolean, was like, hey, we want to have this. Very usually the intuitive solution for today is nowadays everything you try to solve with AI. And you don't define what AI is, by the way, when you're a clever provider, because then you could use also other technologies. But this is this thing where we see people still appreciate to have a certain level of control. And also, AI is a very good tool, but for some tasks, you don't need an AI. For example, when you can, through a Boolean search, very good express what you're looking for. Therefore, was one of the surprises. The other one was there's a clear interest of, I want to chat with a full data set. I don't want to chat with a single document. Therefore, it's like where also people have interesting where things to be analyzed will be one part of the solution. And the other thing I have to ask developers. And with that, I would overhand now to Jean-Michel, and therefore I will take the notebook now and we'll take notes.
This.
Just, yes.
That's me. Sure.
Wait a minute. Oh,
So yeah, I come back here just for the introduction. So thank you very much, Ricardo, and thank you all for being here and for all your questions this morning. And I hope you will have more about the smart list. So I'm going to show you where we are with smart list. Some of you have already seen some screen about that during the webinar. I have more to show today. So this is effectively something very structural for Orbit Intelligence. It's a big change, and we are going to answer many things regarding the workflow improvements. So yeah, I'm going to start with the first slide, showing what's going to change with the smart list comparing to what we have with the workflow. So smart list will be the next feature which allow you to add your information in the document. So comments, stars, and of course custom fields classification. One of the most important things is we are going to use effectively the same search engine. This is one of the points which is very requested by the users, because currently with the workflow you have two different search engines, and so you have different language to search. So you can't copy paste your queries from the live search to the workflow. With the smart list, you will work with the same search engine. So that's a good news. The other point is we are not going to store the documents. We are going to store only the metadata. So thanks to that, legal status will be automatically updated. Live analysis will be possible, and all other features developed in the live product, the live interface, will be available in the smart list interface. So all the AI new features and everything will come directly in the smart list. And another point, very important point, is about the ability to create smart lists using full path, so using application. Currently, workflows allow you to save or to create a data set with families only, and sometimes it's an issue because one of the typical issue is family are alive. That means you could have change in this family constitution, and sometimes family are split or merged together because of many evolution in the family. And when this happens, this could change the way your work files is constituted. With the ability to create smart lists with full path, this will allow you to keep your important patterns still in your smart list. And also, if you want to add stars, comment, and everything to a pattern, before we work files, you had to write a comment to say this is about this member, or you have to select the member. But with the smart lists based on full path, you will work directly on the application. And at the end, the smart list will have all the features we have in the work files in terms of metadata. So we will have stars, comments, and all the types of users fields you have in the work files. And this is mainly to allow us to migrate the work files in the smart list. Just about the stars and comments. This is something we have not developed yet. For the stars, we are thinking about the possibility to have different kind of stars. So you would be able to add a number of stars for example, the technical aspect, another one for the business aspect, another one for the legal aspect, for example. So, and another thing is, we would like the user to have its own number of stars. So you will not have only a number of stars for each document, you will have an average number of stars depending on the user's settings. So if, for example, you have 3 specialists who give the number of stars for the technical aspect, we will compute the average of the number of stars for this 3 person, but you will keep the number of stars of each person. I'm not sure it's clear, but yeah, I can try to say it again. So each user, each reviewer will be able to set a number of stars, and we will keep it.
So it's
and then
then the person rewrites the stars from another person.
Yeah, exactly. The second person will not effectively replace his number of stars with the formula. And so that's for stars. And the other thing is for the comments, we also would like to do something more collaborative. What we would like to have is something we have in other solutions like AHA or Jira, which are solutions we're using internally, where you have a kind of description, which is a common text where all the user eventually can add information or insight in this part. But we will have to have a discussion part below, which could allow users to collaborate together to discuss about a topic, about a domain. But you keep a text on the top as a reference text regarding the patterns.
For example, the custom fields above and discussion below.
Oh, custom field will be, of course, closed.
Yeah.
We are going to work with the layout, but effectively, yes, something like that, yes. So, so here I'm going to show you where we are in the development. So you see here when you select documents in Orbit Intelligence, you can create a work file, a list, and now you can create a smart list. Just a point here, it's already boring to decide should I create a list or a work file, and for a new user particularly, it's very tricky to use this feature. So the goal at the end would be to have only one feature. You will have only smart lists. But in the meantime, we are going to keep the work files because the migration will take time. So you will have work file and smart list together. But currently we plan to totally replace the list with the smart list. So when this will be released in production, here you will be able to create a new work file or a new smart list. And for the new user, they will be able to create only smart list. I mean, for the new clients user, the company we do not have already work files. So you create your smart list like you create a list currently. So this is done. Here you can see the new icon. It's pink now, but you see that you have the same thing you have currently for the work files. You can see that this document is already in a smart list. And on the right side here, you see this. Say it again.
In the center, you have a laser.
This one, okay, thank you. And here on the right side, you see there is a new annotation tab where you will be able to add the metadata. And I'm going to describe you that. So here you can manage the smart list and you can create custom fields. So I'm going to create here the custom fields about, for example, application. So the domain here is medical domain. It's IFU, it's high intensity focus ultrasound. Anyway, this device has applications in terms of, for example, therapy, diagnosis, and imagery. So you can here create this custom fields. You can do another one for anatomy, for example, and then you have here, again, you are back to the smart list management, and you see the 2 custom fields you have created. So this is the first answer to the question in the room just before. When you have a smart list, you can enable only the custom field needed for this smart list. So here you will have a list of available custom fields, and you will be able to enable only the needed here. Then you are back to the interface where you can retrieve here your custom field you have created, and you can click here to select the value you want to assign this value. And here you have an example with this document where I've created 3 custom fields. This is anatomy and applications, and you can see the values here. Comparing to the webinar, now we have implemented the multi-label classifier. So it's an internal API which allows us to compute the classification. This classification, as I said before, is based on the embeddings we are using for Sophia Search. So we have a vector database that we're using to do that. So user needs to assign values to at least, we don't know yet how many documents. For the minimum currently it's 3, but we are still refining this number, but it could be 3, 5, or 10. So until this number is reached, when this number is reached, then you can run the multi-label classifier and classify automatically the rest of the document. So we send to the API, we send the manually assigned document to the system, and we send the document to classify, and we receive the results. And sorry, here you can see in a document that which have been classified, you see another icon here. This is not the final one, but you see that you can distinguish the automatic classification here comparing to the manual classification here. And of course, you will be able to refine it. So here, if I click, sorry, the colors are not that good, but anyway, when you click on this place here, you can refine the classification and say, for example, this document is not about ablation, so you can click on exclude here to refine the classification manually and to say, okay, this one is not about that, and it will not appear any in the future. So as you see, it's a supervised classification. User manage the creation of the values, and the user can also refine the classification. And, if a value is missing, of course, you can add this value and you can make this classification exhaustive at the end. So that's where we are, I think, yes. And you will have also the filter here on the left. This is the new filter. It's not the design. This is a mock-up because the development is not done yet. It's in progress today. We are going to release a new filter features in the. I think it's for this weekend.
Yes.
Yeah, correct. So you will see that you will be able to select with a checkbox. You will be able to select the values you want to filter. And when you are on your smart list, then of course you will be able to retrieve the document talking about the different values you want to see. And of course, after that, you will have the analytics. So you will be able, for example, to cross directly the custom fields you want and the value you want with, for example, here the assignees, but it could be with the inventors or the time or the countries, anything. You will be able, of course, to cross 2 custom fields together. So the important thing about analytics here is comparing to before, you will be able to analyze more document because with work files, you need to assign manually the values. When with the smart list, it's automatically done. So that means the analytics could cover more documents and cover all the content on your smart list. Yeah.
There's a question from the chat where it says, would this classification be visible if I retrieve the patent again in an ordinary search or not related to the search when I created a smart list? It would be useful for the information to have.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, when you will be here, the search screen, let's say this one, for example, here I mean a smart list. So of course I can see what happened in this smart list. But if I am in a live search, I can see here the different smart lists where this document is stored. So you will see here IFU survey, because this is the current smart list, but in the live search, you will see IFU survey, competitor analysis, medical devices or something else. So all the smart lists where this document is stored, and you will see also the different custom field and values assigned to this document. So the answer is yes, and you will be able to see everything. So I read through my slides. Next step. Whoa. So the next step, when first about the closest was next step is the delivery of this system in beta server. So I would like to make it in January. Not sure it will be doable, but I would like to allow you to start to play with this in January. The goal is to allow us to get feedback, technical feedback about the system. We need two kinds of feedback: the performances. So depending on the number of documents, number of users, and everything, we would like to see how the infrastructure is working and how should we resize it if necessary. And of course, the relevancy. So based on your different use cases, it would be interesting to see if the multi-level classifier we are using is relevant or not. We are quite confident because the technology we are using is already used by many other systems, and it works well. We can see that in Sophia search results are very interesting. So and the first test we made with the multi-level classifier looks very good. So we are quite confident that we would like to open the access to this system very early to be able to check if effectively we are good or if we have to improve any element of this system. But the next step after that will be for you to be able to send the alert results in a smart list, and comparing, and it is a demand we have with the current classifier. We will run the classification as soon as we receive the document in the smart list. So that means the Monday morning you will be able to see your smart list already classified. And then of course we will talk about sharing. So the basic sharing will be the same. So it will be based on the directory sharing, but the custom field sharing will be different. And here we want to take some sharing capabilities from Orbit Admin to put it in Orbit Intelligence. So directly in Orbit Intelligence, you will be able to say, this custom field is available for this group. They can assign documents, they can add values or not. So this is something we are working on currently, so sharing. And then, of course, the workflow. This is a big one. So typically, it's the way to assign, the way to trigger an action based on a value which has been assigned to a document. This is something we're already doing with Orbit Review currently. So the point is when in a smart list, a user said in the, let's say, a business custom field, he said this document is very interesting. So this could trigger an action for the business team so they can assess the patent, and then they set value in the legal custom field, and this could trigger an action for the legal team and so on. So this is something we would like to design and to allow you to create your own workflow. But here the point is we would like to do something which can cover more than Orbit Intelligence in Questel. We would like to allow you to cover as well the IPMS, the filing, the drafting, everything in our IP domain, the IP domain covered by Questel. So yeah, this is something we are still thinking. and we want to be very innovative in this development. So we will see what we can do.
If you would like some information, please also in the chat.
Yeah.
Feel free then to answer, because this is now where you can strongly influence, even more as you has before in this session. Thank you. I will give the question to you in the chat. Okay?
Yeah, yeah. I think we can do that now. I have here a slide for discussion, but I think you already have the.
No, just I mean for the discussion slides.
Okay. So regarding the work file migration, so as I said, we structured the smart list like the work files regarding the custom fields. So we will be able to migrate all the user field value to the smart list. And we are still thinking about the way to migrate. The point is, we don't want to migrate all your work files systematically to the smart list, because we are pretty sure that if we take the rule, the 80-20% rule, probably only 20% of your work file are effectively useful, because it's easy to create a work file, it's boring to remove it. So it's an opportunity for you and for us to clean the place here. So that's why we would like to first allow you to migrate a work file directly when you are connected to the system, and when you're looking at a work file, you say, okay, this one is very interesting. Click here, you have the smart list. The second way would be, it's quite easy, or it's easier to move a work file from one place to another. So it would be easier to create a directory where you can store all the most interesting work files, and then you can ask us to migrate automatically this work file to the smart list. This is another way. So select a directory, and we can make the migration. So, yeah.
I would like to ask a question to the audience. For some of the clients, not all, I think we have very good user base and you do a lot of good job. Still, I believe that due to the fact that you have the systems in place for some time, do you think that the user fields that you have right now are necessarily the best versions you should have for the future? The same goes with some work files. That's the reason why we don't make it like one click, big bang, everything is new smart list. Because also the thing is like that, when you have now the chance, would be a good idea to think, we have new capabilities that were never before possible with work files, where you can think about, I have now 3 types of ratings that can have multiple ratings at once. I can have an automized classification based on my fields. Maybe I should be more granular or more general. Therefore, this is something where we says, okay, why there's not this big bang thing, really also to give the opportunity maybe to rework on this. I don't know if you agree on this, or it says, hey, no, Ricardo, everything's fine. We do it best. But from my experience, what I saw with some clients, I see clients, they have very extensive use of the work files with a lot of fields, and I have clients, they have a single user field, and they put everything, and it's like in written text, and I feel like you can do this, but it's a lot of effort, and therefore I want to save you frustration and effort. So when we do this, there's also a chance for you to reinvent the way you work, and we would really love to have you. Yes.
I think on our work, I would say more than.
Yeah, I would repeat for the audience that one of the long-term clients, they have that he said that 90% of the data probably is just there in order to be stored, but it's not necessarily used in production anymore. And he would also prefer to have it in a way that he can, for example, set up a new custom field scheme, which is also still capable of having the legacy fields for documentation purposes. Therefore, thank you for this feedback. So there's a question. Would this classification? No, sorry, this was already answered.
Regarding the custom fields, we have these custom fields I as a user can set up only for me. And then we have these so-called global custom fields, which can be set up by the admins only. I can set up custom fields which are only visible for me.
Personal and enterprise.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, so this is about the sharing aspect effectively. With the user fields, you will be able to create, of course, your user field. And what we plan to do is you will be able to allow other users to use it. So it will be like a flag where you say this is public or not.
Yeah. That's why I'm asking, because with the new customer fields, you have the possibility to set them private.
Yeah.
And then finally the local user fields get obsolete.
Oh, I don't know if I. So perhaps as a small, how the workflow system works currently. Everyone who has the right can set up user fields, but they are based for that user. What you would have to do is to give the permission to a folder or to another user to get it. This is you can do in Orbit admin. Therefore, you don't have by design like the distinction between personal and enterprise-wide user fields. You have your personal fields currently in the workflow system that you share enterprise-wide. In the recommendation with Orbit administration, that you could set what they can do with the fields, and you can share you can easily set access or share things when you put users in that group. But I really like the idea of this thought where it says, okay, there's a definition, but maybe you could even think about an admin or so to have like this on a group level work files, custom fields it's called for the smart lists, or enterprise-wide general ones and personal ones, a distinction.
Yeah, in fact, the most important change will be that this will be manageable in Orbit Intelligence, not in Orbit Admin. So Orbit Admin will keep the group management. So you will be able to create a group of engineers, group of IP leaders, or things like that. But regarding the sharing, it will be all included in Orbit Intelligence, and we want to make it in a way simpler. So if you create a custom field, you will be the owner of this custom field, but you can say this one is public. So it could be used to assign values to documents. And you can also, you will be also able to say users can add value also in my custom field or not. So it's readable or read and write, and private or public. That's what the idea we have currently. We want to make it as simple as that. It's important also to mention that the multi-level classifier will be systematically associated with all custom fields. So when you have with multi-selected value custom field, this kind of custom field will have a multi-level classifier associated systematically. And it's interesting to know that, for example, say that you want to categorize the documents of your portfolio regarding one feature, 3 values. And then you want to do the same for a competitor. If you create a smart list with your competitor patterns, you will just have to click on classify because you have already trained your multi-level classifier with your own portfolio. So you will not waste time assigning manually values in your competitor portfolio. You just classify and it's done. So this is also something where you will be able to do shortly. Yeah.
Can we do a closing then? There's another comment which is about the reason with the frozen in the chat about why there's a requirement for frozen records or so, but it's the user was experienced bugs. That was the reason why he said, hey, give me the frozen one, because then I don't have the risk that if something is updated. Therefore, I take this very seriously, and I will put this also as a feedback for development.
Yeah.
And now I would say we.
Okay. We will talk about that. Yeah. The frozen document is really tricky. We absolutely can't keep the documents like they are on your smart list at the beginning, for example. So we'll have to find another way to work with that.
Yeah, but to understand the requirement, therefore, is very important because it's.
Yeah.
And I agree with the person in the chat. When you need to have your proof that something was like that, that's the reason why I can understand this as, hey, don't change anything. We have dynamic records. For example, the way how the information is displayed. That's the reason. That's how the software works, and therefore this is where I think we have to find a solution. Now I would take the opportunity for our last and final session. Therefore, would you please, with me? First of all, there's yeah.
And you want to have the user field?
With smart lists, it will be doable, yes.
Without this intermediate step of searching first, and therefore this will save also a lot of work.
Yes.
So this is, we had a lot of question and answers. Now, first of all, I'm very proud that my good friend Joni come here to actually give his expertise as an information specialist. In my opinion, this sounds too humble for a person who is more than 25 years active in the field. And in my opinion, what really distinguishes it's okay to be a search provider or so with a small team. Joni has, in my opinion, a big team and has successfully an enterprise, a mid-sized enterprise, I would say, with good searches and trusted by many users. And even, can we mention Cupid?
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard about the qualification for patent information professionals, Cupid. Therefore, it's an explanation. Would you like to say some words about this?
Yeah, it's all of the information user groups, the national ones that have gathered together to get the certification for us as professionals. And this has been going on for a few years. We got the certification in place, it was like 4 years ago. And since then, we've been on a yearly basis. You can take the exam to get certified, but you need to have worked 3 years before that. And it's really great that we have achieved this. We are assisting in that in both the certifications on a yearly basis and also in the groups.
So we have here a person who's setting the standards for prior art search. Therefore, I think I said now enough.
Yeah.
Floor is yours.
So thank you for your introduction, Ricardo, and thank you, Jean-Michel, and also the Questel team for inviting me. I enjoyed the title, but my colleagues made a lot of fun of me. One of Europe's finest searchers. They said it was a few years ago when you were the finest. So they changed it for me. They said part of Europe's finest patent searcher team. And we celebrated 25 years this year.
Wait a minute. So, now works.
And we went to Abisko in the northern part of Sweden, seeing the northern lights. So this is the team. Shortly about us. Uppdragshuset is based on two pillars. It's the consultants. It's a consultancy firm. I'm one of them. I'm the co-founder, but I'm just one person. It's the whole team that constitutes Uppdragshuset. It's a great mix of people and also experiences. It's former patent examiners, former patent attorneys, and former in-house counsels. So we have a great mix adding something to it. And we have the highest number of QPIPs in one company at the moment. We're serving around 79 companies per year, 200 clients, and from 12 countries. This puts, it's not the numbers in itself, but it's what it recognizes here. As an information specialist, there's a lot of challenges in communication with people and also being on top of things because there's a lot happening. The customers are pushing us forward and my colleagues are also pushing us forward. There are some challenges. There's so many tools. There are disruptive changes at the moment. Unfortunately, that's coming at the same time that the number of information specialists are going down. The number of meetings that we used to have a few years ago, we had meetings where people shared their experiences. They were doing tests, they were doing evaluations. Now all of a sudden we're sitting, each one in our corner, and trying to do something. And it's a huge task. I really appreciate Questel doing these kind of sessions, because that gives us the opportunity to discuss with you, which we get some feedback and listen from others, how they work. A little shortly, a few years ago, really easy, we just had to look at the first part, the searching. We knew exactly how to compare search engines. We've worked with AI for a lot of years. It used to be semantic searches, now it's AI with large language models. So there was nothing new for us. Now all of that sudden there's a lot of other parts where the tools, the large language models can support us. And how do we handle this? Since we are information specialists, we thought the first thing was like, okay guys, we do searches. We're good at searches. These small Boolean searches, that's what we can. So what we will do, we will start just doing prompts. And we need to understand all the language models, large language models. So we started having a look at ChatGPT. That's natural, that's the one. Then we continued to having a look at other tools, trying to understand them. Then we made some evaluation. We said, let's make evaluations of 3 of them. Still in mind, keeping in mind that there's a lot of tools. When we finalized the evaluations, then came version 2. And all of a sudden, people were recommending other. And when we finalized those, then came version 3. And that like continued and continued. And in the end, we understood like this task is amazing. It's like I spoke with someone from Microsoft. They said, yeah, it's no problem. Come to Azure, we will help you. Oh, okay, that sounds great. We create, let's say, a data center for you. And there you have 17,000 language models to select in between. I was like, 17,000? Difficulties handling 3. What will I do with 17,000? So what we started thinking about this. This is not our task. We will not be able to do this. So instead of focusing on the prompting, we started thinking, how can we use these tools to move forward? What can assist us? And we said there's a lot of these different stakeholders that we should collaborate with. We should keep our suppliers and our clients really, really close to us. Without good suppliers, we will not be able to move forward. So going from just focusing on the prompting, we learned a lot from that. Now we're focusing on what can assist us. We started doing a document analyzing. What we did, we have a lot of searches where we can see this is the search profile. We reviewed the documents. And we would like to see, can a document classifier help us, assist us in reviewing less documents? I mean, the classifier, what it does, it just shows you which ones you should prioritize. So we started playing around with it. We found like a number, let's say 75% cutoff. Everything that is less relevant than 75%, we didn't see them. And we reviewed, I think, somewhere between 15 and 20 searches. We revisited the searches, compared it, and saw that this works. It saves 40% of the documents, we never saw them. Because the challenge is, even if you say, yeah, Questel is quite good in providing the most relevant ones in the beginning, but it's still like, if you have them in front of you, you will continue to review them. Because otherwise it's difficult to, when you're coming to your client and they will say, why didn't you see this document? This was lag, it was the last one. I didn't bother. So with this, we tested it at the same time, but we didn't go forward with it. But I just want to show you that the classifier could be used for something. We're really happy that you have the new file list, because with the work file, it didn't work for us. It wasn't practical. Yeah. So we will probably revisit this one. Then we did a second test. If you look at, this is, I mean, all of you recognize this. A report where we are showing the relevant documents to the left, document numbers. So we have the key features, and we're marking what key features are shown with a yes, and below that, where in the document is a specific paragraphs, images, title, abstract. What we did, and this was in collaboration with Qthena, because we couldn't go out and do this on anywhere else. We knew that Qthena, they know what they're doing. It's a safe place to work. We took 20 from 4 different fields where we think that these 4 technical fields is what we're working, and compared the results. The paragraphs that we used and compare them with the paragraphs that we got from the Gen AI. It was actually, this was a discussion because my colleagues were like, oh, it only showed 71% if we're looking at all languages. And I said, were you expecting 100%? And they were like, no, because then we would lose our jobs. Yeah. Because it is an indication. We saw some challenges, but with the English documents, US documents, EP documents in English, it was even better, 80%. There are some challenges because the Gen AI is a little bit lazy. So we started off, the first paragraph was like, oh, the feature is there. We saw that we had selected another paragraph which was better, but it's still a really good indication to get started. And this showed us, this is actually when we understood like, oh, something will happen and we have to be ready for it. My colleague Hans Eriksson, I said, these are not my tips. His tip is that you have a few defined, because some of us, we do different work. Some of us are really focused on doing a lot of novel search. To have a few well-defined prompts. And that don't work with a library with like 70 different prompts because you need to update them. Have a few well-defined prompts. Work with specialized pattern tools, which is like Questel or other, Orbit or others. And then also what it does, he uses a large language model that has a pattern search within it, and also generate large language models. And he combines the result. That's his first attempt when he's starting a search. When it started, so, the picture was really bad. Yeah. What some of us do is we start doing the search in, let's say, in parallel, but we start with a manual search, a really, really narrow manual search. Why do we do that? And this is, I will speak from my experience, because when we started using semantic searches, and I was starting with that because I thought, oh, that should be a good start. However, I hadn't trained my eyes or my mind because I realized that it took me, these 25 documents could take me half an hour, and like 25 documents usually it takes like somewhere between like 5 and 15 minutes, depending on how complex they are. But it could take me half an hour because I hadn't prepared my mind. I didn't have the highlighting there, anything. So I start with it really narrow, highlight, review, and all of a sudden, when you get the result from AI search, for the AI search, we have tried Sophia query and also Ask Sophia. And it works really well compared to the semantic search, which we didn't use. So that's a huge improvement, guys. And what we do, we take the ID or product specification, invention disclosure of products, and we add on highlights. So the highlights that we started with, we add them in the end of the invention disclosure, which gives some additional value. I know, Ricardo, you like that one. And then we review. And we have a process how we should work, but under that is complete autonomy. So some of us are reviewing 50 documents, some of us are reviewing 100, some of us are reviewing just 10 and refining directly. So you need to find a working process that works best for you. But for those that only review 10, what I've heard from them, they say they review 10, then they refine if the 10 weren't good enough. So they work quickly with the AI. This is how I use highlighting. I'm an old-fashioned guy. Each keyword, I have full control. One day, my colleague, Mate, said, I would like to show you how I work. So this is really, if you see what I've highlighted in yellow, the first one, he uses proximity operators. And the line below that is without proximity operator. So if it's not found, these are similar. It is in-turn, sequence, consecutive, succeeding, and so on. It is similar words that he's looking for, and he's using similar colors. So if it's not found with the proximity operators, he finds it in the next one. And I mean, I still have difficulties with this because it's so much colors. My eyes, I'm sorry, I'm old, but he's really good. He said by looking at the colors, it doesn't show that he can see quite quickly how relevant the document is. Yeah.
Uses the second highlighting without proximity to exclude.
No, because yeah, because it not show that they don't have it with the proximity operator. But if it doesn't have it with the proximity operator, we would like to have a color close to it to see what is still relevant, but it doesn't have this perfect proximity operator string. Yeah.
Exactly the same way as I use the highlighting. Yeah. Exactly in that order.
Yeah.
And that was the questions some minutes ago when I asked for more colors.
Yeah.
When I said more feature to combine, and you have one feature, one color for one feature. That's not one, but up to 3 or 5, depending on how I search for people. Operators in between.
Yeah.
For one feature, if I 10 features, 5 colors, I need 50. Okay.
Okay. So to my colleague Matt at home, you're not alone. There are other people working exactly as crazy as you, and they would request more colors and in different shades. So John Michel here, he has a long wish list. It's close to Christmas.
Yeah. To make a quick poll, just of interest, would you be interested in like a hierarchy of colors? because currently everything is on the same level. But for example, you just can indent, and then it's like a sub color. I know John Michel like, oh my God, Ricardo, what are you doing? But the question is,
between do the definition by my own or get it from the provider?
yeah, it means like there's just a way to indent it, for example, that belongs together, and then automatically the color comes somehow similar but a bit different. In that regard, that would be a help, I assume. Okay, yeah. I write an enhancement.
This is from Ricardo. So I had to use something from you because for me he's like a magician. You think that he showed me everything, and all of a sudden you pass him by the hotel lobby like yesterday, and it's like, have you? And now something is coming. Pulls out something from his sleeve, and he's like, have you used Windows C? And I was like, what? No. Windows V. Thank you. That was a way of using, instead of just copying Control C, Control V, you use that. And then you can see consecutive. And I was like, oh my God, I always learn something from you. And I thought I was old and wise, but thank you, Ricardo.
I'm older.
So this is how we use one of the tips that we really, really find valuable, because we can work into both the text and also the image at the same time. So we use the down key just to go from first document, to the next document, to the next document, so on. And at the same time, do you use the right and left arrow. And that's when you show images on the right tab, then it will just show you the next image and the next image. And if you want more, I think Ricardo can give you a session for 25, 30 minutes of these kind of tips. Just shortly, this is how we used to have our search log. It was a lot. What I would like mostly for you to see, it's a lot of, let's say, copy and paste. So you copy and paste the different, what you have been doing, the amount of documents. So in case a question comes up, we revisit our search log and have a discussion with the client. And especially for FTO, it's a must. My colleague, Lars Henriksson, he doesn't like copy and paste. He's a little bit lazy, but the good thing is that he's intelligent also at the same time. So he saves a lot of time by using breadcrumbs. When he's reviewing documents, it's like, okay, I have analyzed those. Then he writes LH_. I analyzed this search string. So he knows that he analyzed number 10, 11, 12, and so on.
Commenting on the search history.
Yeah, directly. Yes, exactly. And the good thing is when he has finalized, he just exports this. And he doesn't have to highlight. If he would export it without this kind of commenting, then he would have to highlight. This was the search profiles that I reviewed, because otherwise you can have up to 100 search strings. I know probably a lot of you are doing a lot of search strings. And then it's difficult to remember, what did I really review? But with this he can do that. I'm running out of time, so I will just jump forward this one. It was about balancing quality and budget in FTOs. So we'll jump into this one. This is from Julia Hames, my colleague, and she does a lot of FTOs. The challenges with the FTOs is everyone is like, we would like to have them perfect, but no one would like to pay the price. So we try to balance it. Yes, definitely some clients, they pay the price because it's important enough. But most projects, it's like small improvements. You would like to have the FTO, but you don't want to put 10,000 euros for search for each improvement. So we start in searching in FunPath, analyze the documents there, to review just one family member, mark the relevant documents, and then we export them to FullPath. So we review the specific, the country-specific documents in FullPath. The export can be done in a lot of ways. Some people just mark the documents and copy and paste and so on. Some people take it because you can mark them and take the drop list in directly in Orbit to jump between FunPath and FullPath. This is a way of balancing it. To be honest with you, we would not work in FullPath, but it's time consuming, unfortunately. One small request, what we are missing at the moment in FunPath is Jean-Michel, SDoc. Yeah. What happened with that one? Yeah, what happened with that one? For FTOs, it's really vital. But I know I know. We've had discussions. My team have had discussions with you. So, finally, this is no specific tip, but it's like, this is something we realize that we lose a lot of time if we haven't aligned with the client's expectations. Because the reporting, they have something else in mind. We've noticed it, anything, it could be a novelty search, FTO, anything. And you think that like, I'm in full control, I know I've done this for 20 years, I know exactly what they want. And all of a sudden you realize, no, I didn't, because they needed it for something else that I haven't seen before. So what we do a lot, we talk with them and we always show them, this is the report template. Is this what you're expecting? And ask questions. Ask questions. No matter if it's internal or external clients, they love that you give them attention. So, any questions?
You made internally
Both. We do internally regularly try to have talks about this. And we also, when we get feedback from clients, that's something that we always bring up. Okay, we got this feedback. If it was a communication issue, or if it was that our search was too narrow or too broad or something. So all feedbacks that we get from the clients are taken. And that's also where we all of a sudden, oh, did you do it like that? I would have done it like this. So there's a lot of exchange of thoughts whenever we have these kind of feedback meetings.
So it's great to see that you have also various people with various kinds of performing the search.
Yeah.
It's very individual, and that's also our problem.
Yeah.
Or more. You can't have a straight line and say, well, perform it that way. That doesn't work. It's, one of the colleagues feeling good, but other things that's not my way.
I agree. I tried, but they were going to kick me out. So no, but it's like I agree with you. That is what we love in our profession. It's creative, the autonomy to work as I want. Naturally, we have a process. This should be included, but the autonomy, because if you're doing a search, a novelty or validity search, and if you don't find anything, you have a certain search strategy. If you find a good document, all of a sudden you can just put that aside and just work with cited citing. Yeah, so depending on what you find, you can find a new way of searching. Yeah, and that's why whenever people ask, especially when we get from clients, like, how is your search process? It's like, it depends on what happens. So that's why we've always said, it's up to you how you search. But the result should be on a certain level. And we work with the 4I principle. So there's always one doing the search and one assisting. So you discuss the search, you discuss your search strategy against feedback. And that's a way of keeping the way we're working harmonized and some kind of certain, let's say, quality level. It's a quality assurance that we have internally. And that's also a good way of, let's say, seeing how other work and get ideas from.
Check the chat. Would be also, okay, there was more about highlighting. Good.
Yeah.
With this, first of all, I want to say thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You see why I'm such a big fan of that person. And with this, we would now stop then the power user meeting. We would have outside arranged some lunch. Can have some time, we have some talks. If you need to leave, feel free. There's food, there are some little presents. If you like, you can have them. And I want to say thank you all, and also to the online participants. I mean, we had serious technical issues, and still you had the patience with us. This means a lot to me. So therefore, I promise, and next time will be better. Also, I have some ideas for 2026. We're thinking of launching an Orbit newsletter, which is an ad-free or sales pitch-free newsletter. The idea to keep more informed about the developments. Earlier, we had the 12 features per year. It was possible to have this with meetings. Now with 40, it's such a hurry and also for us at the moment, like, I'm not sure the client already knows or not. And therefore you have so much to do. So I believe this kind of information offering we want to do, that people can sign up if they want, and can also drop out the mailing list if they don't want to give some time back. With that, I say thank you very much. The lunch is served. I wish you a wonderful day and safe travels home if we don't see each other. And to the online persons, thank you very much for your time and for joining. Bye-bye.